The concrete yard smelled of rusted cages, wet fur, and old fear, the kind that clung to the back of the throat. The handlers stood behind the fence with their arms folded, laughing in low, ugly tones as the gates rattled. She was shoved forward hard enough that her boots scraped, palms burning as she caught herself before falling. The dogs sensed it instantly. Muscles shifted under mangy coats, teeth flashed, throats rolled with hunger and frustration. These weren't trained patrol K9s anymore. They were half-forgotten animals kept on short rations, turned mean by neglect and by men who thought cruelty was a shortcut to control. Someone yelled for the gate to open, and the metal groaned as if it didn't want to be part of what was about to happen. Her pulse stayed steady, even as her breath slowed on purpose. Fear was there, but it didn't drive. Years of conditioning did. She took in the space, the distance to the fence, the direction of the wind, the pack's body language, who was dominant, who was anxious, who would break first. The men jeered, throwing insults that bounced off her like spent shells. To them, she was a lesson, a spectacle, something to be torn apart to make a point. The first dog lunged, nails skittering on concrete, and the others followed in a wave of snarls. She didn't run. She dropped her center of gravity, turned her shoulders sideways, and met the charge with calm, deliberate motion. Her hands stayed open, fingers relaxed, eyes soft but unblinking. A sharp command cut through the chaos, not screamed, not pleading, but low and absolute. The lead dog hesitated, confused by the absence of panic, by the tone that didn't match the situation he'd been trained to expect. The pack fanned out, circling, teeth snapping inches from fabric, breath hot against her skin. She adjusted, pivoting slowly, never letting her back face the strongest animal. Another command followed, different cadence, measured. The dogs barked and snapped, but their rhythm faltered. Hunger made them bold, but certainty made them pause. Sweat traced a line down her spine as she kept talking, voice steady, controlled, threading authority through the air. On the other side of the fence, the laughter thinned, replaced by murmurs. No one had expected this. No one had expected her to stand there, unbroken, reading the pack like a map. The gate clanged shut behind her with a finality that sounded like a dare, and in the charged silence, it became clear this wasn't going to end the way they'd planned. The circle tightened, paws scraping, bodies brushing past her legs as the dogs tested boundaries, searching for the moment she would flinch or bolt. She felt the vibration of their growls through the concrete, a living current of tension that demanded respect. She gave it, not by backing down, but by matching their energy with calm dominance. Her breathing stayed slow and visible, shoulders loose, chin level. Another command rolled out, quieter now, almost conversational, shaped to cut through instinct without challenging it head-on. One of the younger dogs snapped and darted in, teeth grazing fabric, and she shifted just enough to redirect the movement, not striking, not threatening, just enough to say no. The dog skidded away, confused, hackles half raised, eyes flicking between her and the alpha. She used the moment, stepping forward into the space she'd claimed, planting her boots with purpose. Authority wasn't volume, it was certainty, and the pack felt it. The alpha lunged again, closer this time, saliva flying as jaws closed on empty air. She met him with a firm command and a sudden stillness that stopped him mid-stride. The others froze too, a ripple of hesitation spreading through the group. She kept talking, tone steady, using the cadence drilled into her during long, brutal years where failure meant more than embarrassment. She named them in her head, fearful, hungry, dominant, reactive, and adjusted each word to reach them. The handlers outside the fence shifted uncomfortably. One of them muttered that it wasn't possible, that the dogs were too far gone. Another took a step closer to the fence, eyes narrowed, trying to figure out what trick she was using. There was no trick, just discipline layered on experience, and a refusal to see the animals as monsters. She lowered herself slowly to one knee, a calculated risk that made the men gasp. To the dogs, it changed the picture. She wasn't prey, she wasn't a challenger, she was something else, calm in the storm, unafraid of teeth and hunger. She extended a hand, palm down, fingers still, letting them choose. The alpha circled, breath hot against her wrist, then hesitated. The pack followed his lead, their snarls softening into uncertain huffs. Time stretched thin. A wrong move would end everything. She didn't rush it, she waited, letting trust, fragile and reluctant, take root. When the alpha finally sat back on his haunches, confusion etched into his posture, a low murmur rippled through the men behind the fence. The yard felt different now, as if the air itself had shifted, and for the first time since the gate closed, the dogs weren't thinking about tearing her apart. The silence that followed felt heavier than the growls ever had. She stayed exactly where she was, knee on the concrete, hand still extended, eyes never leaving the alpha. The dog's chest rose and fell in uneven bursts, hunger and instinct wrestling with something unfamiliar, respect. Slowly, almost reluctantly, he lowered his head. One by one, the others followed, tails dropping, bodies easing out of attack posture. A soft whine cut through the air, not weakness, but surrender. She let out a breath she'd been holding and shifted her weight carefully, never breaking the calm rhythm of her voice. It wasn't praise yet, it was reassurance. The kind that said you're safe, and so am I. She rose to her feet with controlled precision, and the pack adjusted with her, no longer circling, no longer hunting. The handlers stared in disbelief. One of them fumbled for the radio, another stepped back as if the fence were suddenly too thin. They had wanted blood. What they got was obedience without force. She reached down slowly and touched the alpha's neck, fingers brushing scarred fur. He flinched, then leaned into it, confused but compliant. That was the moment the yard broke. Someone swore under their breath. Another whispered her name after finally recognizing it, the realization spreading like a shockwave. She turned toward the fence, eyes hard now, the calm replaced with something colder. "Open the gate," she said, voice level and final. No one argued. The latch snapped back, metal ringing as the gate swung wide. The dogs didn't move. They stayed exactly where she'd left them, seated, quiet, watching her for the next command. She walked out without looking back, dust on her boots, sweat drying on her skin, leaving stunned silence behind her. Only when she was clear did she give a shorthand signal over her shoulder. The dogs lay down in unison. The men froze, confronted by what they'd tried to destroy and failed to understand. She stopped just past the gate and glanced back once, not at them, but at the animals. "You deserved better," she said softly. Then she was gone. If this story showed you what real strength looks like, calm under pressure, discipline over cruelty, make sure you subscribe to the channel Bravo Warrior Stories for more intense, realistic military stories that reveal the truth behind courage, loyalty, and honor.